Welcome back, True Seeker. In the past week, a lot of people have requested a video on the Nicki Minaj and Cardi B fight. I've actually had a blog post up since September 11th on it, but I'm happy to make a video. So, this fight reportedly happened last Friday, September 7th, and it happened at the Harper's Bazaar fashion show. And let's just start with the day it happened, Friday, September 7th. That was the 22-year anniversary of the shooting of Tupac Shakur. It's also Eazy-E's birthday. In the headlines, the same day as this fight, September 7th, 2018, there was the death of the rapper Mac Miller. There was also the story about LeBron James and Kevin Durant, number 35, releasing their rap song that they had done in 2011, years ago. And, of course, Kevin Durant has the tattoo of Tupac Shakur on his body. The song they released was It Ain't Easy, which is also the name of a song that Tupac himself had done. Plus, It Ain't Easy has the word easy in it, which reminds that it came on Eazy-E's birthday. Famous West Coast rapper, two West Coast basketball players. LeBron now in L.A., Kevin Durant in the northern part of California in Oakland. But let me show you the riddle here with the location, the date, why this news came the day it did. Understand, everything in the media is a contrived riddle. If this fight happened, it was contrived and it was done so to sell records. Just like how Nicki Minaj gets a story from TMZ about how her business is booming because of this fight and because of this rap beef. And think about Tupac and rap beefs and Notorious B.I.G. Two men who died by the numbers. Just like Mac Miller did. All of this code, or all of this news is released by a code that is related to Kabbalah. Mac Miller's death related to Ariana Grande, who publicly is known as a Kabbalist. So, I'm going to tell you something about Ariana Grande and Mac Miller that we haven't talked about yet, and which just came into my life yesterday. We'll get to that at the end of this. But let's just start with where this fight happened. Harper's Bazaar fashion show. Notice the gematria of 271. That's the 58th prime number. Tupac's full rap name, Tupac Amaru Shakur, equals 58. Freemasonry sums to 58 and 139. Tupac died on September 13th. The name Tupac Shakur also sums to 139. So 58, 139, numbers of Freemasonry, numbers related to Tupac. His death, the day he died, September 13th. Further, notice the gematria of 118. We're looking at the four base ciphers here. 118, well, that pops out because the day Tupac died, September 13th, 96, 9 plus 13 plus 96, equals 118. The word death equals 118 in Jewish gematria. What else stands out here? The 377, that's a Fibonacci number. That's the 14th Fibonacci number. And the number 14 has to do with death. The word dead equals 14. The word end equals 14. There was a rap death on this day. It was, again, on the anniversary of Tupac being shot, who died right after, 6 days later. And also on the anniversary of Eazy-E's birthday, who died prematurely. His death synced up with the release of the album Lethal Injection by Ice Cube, something covered in my book. As well as Tupac's death, as well as Notorious B.I.G.'s death. Every suspicious music-related death you've ever heard of, they're all covered in my book. And they're all by this code, this very repetitive code. The other thing that stands out here is the 134. That's the number that represents Vesica Piscis, which is the shape of a womb. The Vesica Piscis is the most important shape in sacred geometry, the womb of the universe. And with regards to womb, we're talking about a story that has to do with a fight between two women, two female rappers. So everything is relevant here. Let's also not forget that Nicki Minaj is involved in this, who just released her Queen album right before the death of Aretha Franklin. You had Ariana Grande performing at her funeral right before the death of Mac Miller at 26. If you missed my work on Aretha's death, it had everything to do with 26. So, now next piece. In our work, we always decode the date the location. We've done the date and the location. What matters about it? September 7th. In case you're new here, that was a date that can be written 9/7. Death equals 97 in the base cipher. It's also a date that can be written 7/9, like 79. Murder equals 79. 79 is the 22nd prime. Although this news came on the 22-year anniversary of what happened to Tupac Shakur. Now, Tupac was 25 years old when he died. 25. September 7th, 9/7. 97 is the 25th prime number. That's why in the NFL for the 97th season, they moved the touchback to 25 yards. That's why the Super Bowl was on 2/5 for the Super Bowl to close out the 97th season. Featured a Patriots 25-point comeback over the Falcons, where Falcons equals 25. And that Super Bowl was all synced up with the halftime performance by Lady Gaga. Read my book. The point is, the world of entertainment, media, it's all contrived by this code. From the sports games to what you see in the news to the performers performing at the halftime games. So anyway, Cardi B. She's 25 years old when this happened. Her upcoming 26th birthday, a little more than a month away when it happened. From September 7th to October 11th is 34 days later, or it's a span of 35 days. And both numbers are relevant. Tupac Shakur equals 139. He died September 13th, 13/9. 139 is the 34th prime. This story coming on the anniversary of him being shot. With regards to a span of 35 days, the word rap equals 35. We're talking about two female rappers. I just did the video on Svengali, also pronounced Sevengali. The man who told me about it, he's actually getting mad. He's like, it's only pronounced Sevengali. But, I don't know. I look at the way it's spelled. To me, that word says Svengali. But anyway, it equals 35. If you missed my video on this word and its meaning and how it relates to the death of Aretha Franklin and Elvis Presley and why Nicki Minaj released her album Queen 35 weeks after her 35th birthday on the nose, go back and watch that. You know, the 35th VMAs is where Madonna gave tribute to Aretha and kissed Nicki Minaj. She started her speech, Madonna did, with how she had $35 on in her pocket when she went seeking her music career at the 35th VMAs. This word, what it means is having an evil handler behind you in the entertainment business. You know, like someone who'd say, hey, go get out in a fight there and create all this negative publicity to sell me some more records. You know, hey, go fake your death there to help sell me some more records. I'm going to tell you in a moment how somebody reached out to me that works with Ariana Grande and said, Mac Miller, the character, is dead. I'll tell you more. Kind of like how Tupac Shakur, the character, is dead, but is the actual person dead? You know? So, with regards to 35, Mac Miller also died on this same day of this news. He died 35 days after the release of his album Swimming, supposedly from an OD. OD equals 35. But now a news story just came out the other day saying that there was nothing in his autopsy, that there was any evidence that he overdosed from any drug use. So you see how the media does that to you? They play with you. But 35 days after his album release, OD 35. On that same day, number 35, Kevin Durant and King James, LeBron James, their rap single came out. Kevin Durant wears 35. King James equals 35. By the way, the real King James became a Freemason at the age of 35. Freemasonry abides by this code. Holy Bible equals 45. The King James Bible came out when King James was 45 years old. Think about how Kevin Durant, number 35, made LeBron James 3-5 in NBA Finals 2 years ago. Not a coincidence. So, big 35 ritual on this day with all these interlinked events connecting rappers, Rap 35. Durant also has the Tupac tattoo. Tattoo equals 35. But now Nicki Minaj, the bigger beneficiary from this story, from the date of the incident, which was September 7th, to her upcoming 36th birthday is a span of 93 days. And remember, Nicki Minaj equals 93. You know. So you can see how the news is contrived yet again, all by the numbers, undeniably. Learn the code, learn to see through it all. And in case you're new here, in every video I link the Gematrinator calculator. Here's Tupac's full name, 58. Tupac Shakur, 139, like how he died September 18th. Freemasonry, 139 and 58 in the base ciphers. You see? Death, 97. Murder, 79. Again, 79, the 22nd prime. This calculator, if you click on a number, it'll tell you about it. It'll tell you if it's prime. Yes, it's the 22nd, 22-year anniversary of the shooting of Tupac. Mac Miller's full birth name equals 79, all things we covered. On my radio show the Wednesday before, September 5th, I said there would be a celebrity death on September 7th. Darrell, the same man down in Houston who used to work in radio, who taught me about the Svengali thing, or the Sevengali thing, he also put out his prediction on Facebook that there'd be a celebrity death on September 7th. It was something we talked about. That's a number he follows a lot, this 79-97 pattern. You know, someone who learned about my work a few years ago and been following it ever since, just like a lot of other people have. When you learn about this knowledge, you know, a light bulb goes off. You realize this is something worth seeing because it shows you how the world around you of mainstream media is operating. Everything in mainstream media is done this way. Now, here's the other piece I want to tell you. Yesterday, actually, if you're on my Patreon, I got interrupted. Somebody kept calling on the phone, and in the middle of the video, which was long, I said, hold on, I got to take this call for a minute. And I picked it up, and I told the guy I had to call back. And it was somebody I hadn't talked to for about 2 years. And for those of you who followed me for years, I actually made a video about this person. I didn't put out their information, but it was in 2015. This person reached out to me, and they said they were waking up to the truth, and they were finding it really depressing, and they were feeling really isolated, and they wanted to kill themselves. And first they wrote me, and I was corresponding with them, and then I said, hey, here's my phone number. If you're feeling so lonely, you can always call me. So I started talking to them, and after keeping in contact with them for, I don't know, a month or so, somewhere around then, maybe 2 months, I forget now, it was 2015, they let me know that they used to be part of a pretty popular rock band, and they worked in Hollywood, and now they help produce music, and they were around a lot of celebrities and entertainers. And then all of a sudden, like, their whole mood changed. Like, now they weren't depressed, now they weren't suicidal, and they were like saying, you know, I went through this thing and I saw this and I realized, you know, like, this isn't really something that in terms of the truth, they were saying, you know, I don't know if this is really something I want to continue to follow. It's not really helpful to my life, and I'm glad I came across it, but now I just kind of want to escape it. And I just thought it was all kind of an interesting experience that they, like, reached out to me and let me know how down they were about this work and how it was draining them. And I was trying to lift them up, and I put out a video called The Message 2015 for anybody else who was feeling like that person. But then sometime after that, that's when they let me know about what else was going on in their life, because I had no idea this person was like a semi-celebrity, etc., etc. And if you're new here, I had Jeff Young, who was my buddy for a while. I used to do his radio show. He's the former guitarist for Megadeth and has a lot of solo projects. And last year... Anyway, I've had a number of people who are like semi-famous get in contact with me and try to become like my friend, and I'm kind of suspicious of all of it. But anyway, this same person, he reached out to me yesterday. He called me and he said, Zach, I saw this video of yours that has all these views, and he's like, I just want to let you know that I hang out with Ariana Grande all the time right now. I'm one of her main producers, and I just got to let you know that all of this stuff is a coincidence. He said, Ariana Grande is like the most down-to-earth person. She's totally legit. She doesn't have any handlers. There's nobody behind her. She just makes all of her own moves. And I was listening to him for a second. And when he got done, I said, honestly, man, I said, I haven't heard from you for a while. And I said, it's kind of hard to believe. And I said, well, what do you say about when she was over in the UK and there was that terror attack at her concert? And then afterwards, you know, there were pictures of her hugging this girl that supposedly died as a victim. I said, I'm pretty sure that at the time you saw how I predicted before that attack happened that there was going to be a terrorist attack on that day and why that day was so special to Freemasonry in the Gregorian calendar. And if you go back and look at the victim from the Ariana Grande concert bombing that got all the publicity and who had the tweet about how her song was going to kill her, or her song was literally killing her, or something like that, that also got attention. But if you go back and look at that young girl's name, it was Georgina Calendar. And here for months, I'd been saying there was going to be a terrorist attack and how it was all about this very specific day and what that day had to do with the Gregorian calendar. It was just such a mocking. And I also pointed out to him, I said, not only that, but I said the people released the cell phone footage who were at that concert of the PA system saying, there's no threat, there's nothing to be panicked about, exit the stadium calmly. So it was just so obvious that it was a bunch of BS. There was no terrorist attack. It was this whole contrived thing. And then you had Ariana Grande in the media participating about what a tragedy it was and how, she lost this person that she got to pose with who was a big fan of hers. So I said all that to him and he went silent. I said, it looks to me like she has a handler. Because for her to participate in that news story and propaganda, that's not some just innocent girl. Because he was explaining to me how she's just so down to earth. She's always in her sweatpants and just so friendly. And I said, that might be true. But, there's obviously something else going on with her. And I asked her, I said, is it a coincidence that she just ended up at the Aretha Franklin funeral? I mean, I'm showing how Aretha's death's entirely 26, and then Miss 26 herself, Ariana, which equals 26, who's born on the 26th of June. If you haven't read my book, it's all about 6 and 26, the 6th month, the 26th day, Agent 26. I said, is it a coincidence that she gets shipped there, and then you get the headlines about, Bill Clinton, number 42, checking out her ass, and then the pastor groping her and all this? And he was like, look, man, yeah, that stuff's just a coincidence. So I don't know how many people have reached out to me in the time that I've been doing this that have really just reached out to me, like, to send me negative vibes or to try to, like, push me off the path. I'll tell you what, when my house got ripped off November 15th, 2014, when it got burglarized that day, the day before, I'd given my phone number to this guy who I just had to block because he called like literally 1,000 times a day, all hours of the day. And I put up with it for a long time. I actually didn't block him until after my house got burglarized because the day before my house got burglarized, he called me freaking out that my computer just crashed. But what I was saying is that guy, the day before my house got burglarized, he called me and told me his house got burglarized. And then after that, I just thought, okay, this guy's sending me all this weird information. He's trying to tell me all this crazy stuff, and then that happened. So I figured something was wrong with that. I figured he was part of the whole thing that happened. And if you ever get into this work, I suggest you don't give out your contact information. Some people out there who I've gotten in contact with, like Derek, who built Gematrinator, that's great, but overwhelmingly, the people I've given out my number to, they're not helpful. And sometimes it seems like they're, trying to, again, create that negative influence. Also, the guy who called yesterday, who said he's going to call me back soon to talk more about this thing with Ariana Grande and how this whole thing's just a big coincidence, he also said that the death of Mr. Pavone from the band We Are Romans, which was very recent, he said that there's nothing suspicious about his death, He said that he overdosed and they tried to save his life and he was in a coma for a week and then they just pulled the plug on him. Coincidentally, 81 days after his birthday, the ritual number. And I asked him how he can be so confident about all these things. And he said like, Pavone's like one of my best friends. He said, I grew up with him. We both been musicians. He said he was just really depressed. And he told me that a woman in his life had recently ruined him, and he was just so down, and he couldn't come off it, and he just went overboard with the drugs, and it's a legitimate OD death story. And I don't know. If it's a legitimate OD death story, I guess it's an example of the organic side of the code, but it just felt weird that this guy's calling after 2 years and just saying everything's a coincidence, and, all of this stuff happened in the news is he's saying it's all organic now, so you tell me, does it all seem organic? I don't think it all seems organic. Not at all. I do acknowledge there's an organic side, but All of this stuff very contrived. And oh yeah, what he did say also before we got off the phone, and he said, and remember, he goes, Mac Miller, the character's dead, but the person that was actually Mac Miller, are they dead? And I said, well, can you tell me? Do you know the answer? He's like, just listen to what I'm saying. So, you know, I feel that this person knows more than they're leading on with. I also do believe him that he is friends with Ariana Grande, and I think that's part of the reason he reached out and called is to try to get me to come off this, maybe for her own benefit. You know, maybe maybe she saw the video and was like, "Who is this guy?" And he's like, "Well, as a matter of fact, I actually know this guy." So, anyway, we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Until next time.